Well, Stan, we'll start with right at the beginning, back at Manchester where it all began. And it seems to me, at that stage when you got into football, football was more about having a laugh and then the sudden realisation that perhaps you could make some good money out of it.
Well, the reason I joined Manchester City, I was only playing with a non-league team on a Sunday morning. And my father sort of put me into it. I got by a scout, came along, and I became an apprentice at Man City. And then, I was talking to people where I thought, well, they don't get paid for this, do they? This was younger kids, you know what I mean? Brian Kidd was, I played with him quite long in Manchester Boys. But after that, I signed apprentice things, and then I was hanging around with the wrong people, Malcolm Allison said, you know. But I was getting more money off them than I was getting from playing football.
Was Malcolm Allison right? You were hanging around with the wrong people?
Yeah, after all these years, yeah, probably right, yeah. Well, they're all in prison now, or they're dead, so I suppose he's vindicated.
And then obviously the realisation that you could make money from it.
Yeah, but because I was hanging around with the wrong people, first of all I was shipped home to Bury, and then I didn't get on with the manager there. I was only there 3 weeks. And then when I came back, I got sacked by Malcolm Allison. So I was out of football for nearly 2 years, till I went to Crewe. A friend of mine who worked on the Manchester Evening News said, well, you could have a trial at Crewe. And I went along with it, and within 3 days they gave me a contract.
What did you do during the 2 years you were out of football?
Well, I was with the mob, wasn't I? I was still getting more off them than I was getting playing football.
QPR was really where it all started to come together for you on the football pitch. They came in for you in September 72. What are your earliest memories of a London club coming in for you?
Look, I'd been at Carlisle for nearly 2 years then, and we had a decent side, you know. Held Spurs to a 1-1 draw in the FA Cup. Should have beaten them anyway. And then it just came out of the blue. I was quite happy in Carlisle then. When I first went there, I don't know whether you've seen Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid when they go to Bolivia. I was like that. What's going on here? There was only one club, one nightclub. It's all changed now. I've been up to Carlisle since. But I sorted myself out there because my manager at Crewe said, if you put your head together, go to Carlisle, which is a long way away, you know. He said, you'll play for England, and he was exactly right.
Did you believe he was right at the time?
Yeah, well, yeah, I did, yeah. Well, there was nothing to do, so I had to get my head down, didn't I?
And then you came down to London. Obviously, there's plenty of off-field distractions. What attracted you to QPR in London?
Well, it was the players, really, like Terry Venables, and, you know, one regret I've got in my life is that I would have wanted to play longer with Terry Venables, but he was finishing when I joined, you know. So, and that was the end of that. But, you know, it could have been any London club. I just wanted to go to London because I knew I could make it there. Not being arrogant, but, well, some people say I'm arrogant, but there you go.
And Busby a long one forward. Venables beautifully on now for Bowles. Oh, a tremendous goal! A fantastic goal by Queen's Park Rangers. The whole length of the field that had the hallmark of teamwork about it from deep in their own half until Bowles finally got hold of it and hammered left-footed, left-footed pass. Billy Irwin. What a tremendous goal to put Queen Park Rangers 3-0 ahead.
When you arrived at the club, Rodney Marsh had left 6 months earlier, and no one would touch the number 10 shirt. How did it come about? Was it offered to you? Did you request a number 10 shirt?
Well, it seemed in the dressing room that nobody wanted to wear it. I said, well, I said, I'll wear it. I said, I've never heard of him. You know, in Manchester, it was all Manchester City, Man United, you know what I mean? I played in a Man City side, 20-odd games, when they won everything with Malcolm Allison. So that I wasn't worried about it. I've never been nervous, you know what I mean?
Did anyone say to you, you'll be putting extra pressure on yourself here if you grab his 10 shirt?
Yeah, a couple of people. Jerry Francis, who was my mate, yeah. I said, I don't care. Best thing I ever done.
Did Jerry advise you against taking number 10?
Well, a few people said it, yeah. And, you know, a few of the fans. I said, it don't matter to me. Maradona was a 10. Most of the, you know, apart from my favourite George Best, he didn't wear the number 10.
And then your debut, obviously there would have been a lot of expectation that effectively you put on yourself wearing the number 10.
Yeah.
QPR beat Nottingham Forest 3-0.
Yeah, I scored one goal. I scored a goal, yeah. So I got off on the right track. But I wasn't worried. I knew I was at ease from the day one when I joined there.
Why?
Because of, like, Jerry Francis, Terry Venables, you know, good players.
What do you remember about your debut, that debut?
I just remember scoring. It was from a corner. Don Givens took the corner and I headed it in. I remember that.
And then you looked at your teammates, and did you feel you'd found your level because you were playing with...
Yeah. We didn't have a few years later on, we didn't have the good players like that. But it was still a decent side, yeah.
Even now, fans talk about Stan Bowles and Rodney Marsh, compare the two.
Yeah, that's the only favour he's done me.
Do you think the pair of you are incomparable?
Well, I don't get on with him. I mean, the only thing he taught me, the football, don't get me wrong, he was a very good player. The only thing I watched him do a trick on the telly where he tripped himself up in the penalty area. And I picked it up as well. I never told him that, but it'll come out now, won't it?
And
he had a knack of... there were not many cameras about then, you know what I mean? So I used to trip myself up. Everybody used to do it. Get in the penalty. Even Dave Sexton, when we had a blinding side. If you get in the box, go down.
And was it something that you saw Rodney do and thought, I'll bring that into my game?
Yeah. I picked up a lot of things like that with people. Puskas with the drag back. Cruyff with the other thing. I just picked things up.
And Thomas absolutely streaking out for Rangers. Over the side is Bowles. Has he seen him? He has. He can't miss it, surely. He didn't. What a glorious move out. The scoreline is 3-2 in favour of Rangers now. Bowles against Rimmer, and a chance for Rangers to go 2-1 into the lead, and he's done it. A well-taken penalty by Stan Bowles with a lot of coolness and a lot of pressure on him. Finding the roof of the net beyond the reach of Rimmer. 2-1 to Rangers.
Well, Stan, you were a very successful penalty taker. What was your technique with penalties?
Well, the only technique I had was I'd always put it in the left-hand side, normally. Because goalkeepers would normally say in their head, well, he's got to put it the other way. I got away with that for quite a long time.
And you went that side famously against Alex Stepney at Manchester United. It was your first league miss from 12 yards. What do you remember about that?
Well, I remember stumbling really badly, and it sort of trickled into him, really. But he took a, you know, he was taking the mickey out of me when I run up. I nearly had a row with him, yeah.
Because afterwards on the big match, it actually showed, they dissected it quite
yeah,
well.
he was trying to mug me off, sort of thing, yeah, but I gave him a volley anyway. It was just one of them things, I just clipped my foot and that was it, you know.
What did he say to you as you were getting ready to take it?
Well, lots of swear words, but I gave him a lot back. Things he's never heard.
So you won that little battle of verbals.
Yeah.
And you won the game, so the penalty miss doesn't really
matter.
matter.
Well, he thought he'd made the save of all time. Get real. Well, you know, I'd made up my mind where to put it straight away, and fortunately for Alec, you know, he went the right way.
Do you think he moved?
Well, I've got to say he moved, haven't I?
What about it, Alec? Had you made up your mind to go that way before?
Yes, I did, yeah. I'd like to know what Stan was saying to me before he took the kick. That was the main thing.
What were you saying to him before you took the kick?
Well, Alec had been playing so well, I said, you'll probably go and save this one as well, and he did.
I don't believe that.
It was a little fruitier than that, was it?
I think it was, yeah.
But it was a good... Right, let's sort out a couple of those points. One, did Stan and Alec have words before the kick was taken? And indeed, did Alec Stepney move before the kick was taken? You'll notice now how Stan Bowles moves in from the left of the picture there. That's where he's having a word with Alec Stepney. I think Alec's probably giving him something back as well. But the other interesting thing that I want you to watch out for now is the Manchester United number 9, Stuart Pearson there. Obviously, Alec Stepney decided to go to the right, and I think Stuart Pearson in a moment, there he is, reminding him of that's what he's got to do. And away comes Stan Bowles now to kick this ball. Unhappily, the ball is shielded by Lou Macari there, but I think you'll agree that Alec Stepney does move there quite clearly before the kick was taken. But he got away with it. He made his save. He made a brave second save there as well as Stan Bowles came in, and Stan Bowles therefore missed his first ever penalty in the Football League, although he's missed one in the Cup.
Were there any particular players that really stand out now, looking back, that you had real exchanges with?
Mainly that Newcastle, Malcolm MacDonald. I just didn't get on with him at all. He was arrogant. And but when I scored the goal when we was going for the league, it was in the last minute as well. And they caught the picture with me jumping up. All them Geordies was trying to kill me. But he was about the worst, yeah. I done the superstars with him. Yeah, and he was canoeing, and he fell, and I looked to laugh at him, and I went under as well. I've still got the lowest record for that superstars.
You didn't take superstars too seriously, I don't.
No, I didn't. No. I was with James Hunt and Kevin Keegan. James Hunt was all right, but he was a good athlete. In the the lifting, weightlifting, and all that. It was an Aldershot with the army. I said, no, mate, I can't do that. I've got a bad back. They was disgusted with me, the army.
And on the pitch, it's one of the famous footballing photos. Waiting to defend a corner, you picked up a Sporting Life from the terraces and had a read.
Oh, that was Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough, yeah. So someone slung it on, I had a read. And I scored direct from a corner there as well. I can remember putting my finger up, like, test the wind. And it went in. Another argument with the Geordies.
And when you had the magazine up and you posed for the photo, you actually...
I didn't pose for it, it just happened. It was me and Don Shanks, actually. Somebody just took a picture, obviously. They sit round the pitch then, didn't they? So they just took a picture.
And you still had the magazine in your hand when the corner came in?
No, I can't be two places at once. No, I was standing near the goal post. It was after that I scored the straight from a corner. I've done that a few times.
Do you think that's why the fans, as well as QPR fans, neutral fans, loved you because of that side of you?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Begrudgingly, they always say, oh, you was a good player anyway. Doesn't matter whether it's Scousers. You know, where I come, Manchester and Scousers don't get on at all. But they came round a bit to me.
Were there many players better than you at that time?
No, I don't think so. There was a period there, I felt invincible.
Bowles. Still Bowles. Will this be the fourth? Yes! Stanley Bowles. They're running riot now, Rangers. Carving them up. And away goes Bowles. Oh, neatly over Dorney's head. Good play here by Bowles. And alas for him, for the Rangers fans as well. And he's apologising to them.
There was the occasion when you played at Millwall for QPR, and late on in the game at the Den, the notorious Den, and you missed a chance late on. The fans gave you stick, and you stood there and reminded them that QPR were 1-0 up. It must be very brave to do that.
Well, it was, I'll tell you, I can't remember his name. He was a hero there. At a full-back. And I was going past him all the time, taking the and he was the hero of the whole of Millwall. That's why they was having to go at me. They got all sorts of threats. Can't remember his name now. Harry someone.
Harry Cripps.
That's him.
And were you giving it to him in his ear?
Yeah, but I was also like making him look like a mug, you know what I mean? I didn't even know who he was.
Harry Cripps is just one of a long line of hard men from the 70s who seem to pinpoint you for particular attention.
Yeah, yeah.
How did you handle that?
Well, I was too quick for him. I mean, I wasn't... I was quick over about 5-10 yards and I'd be gone. But by the time he catches up, the ball would have gone as well.
Did you try and get in their head?
Well, sometimes you have to. They try and do it to you, you know what I mean? Carry on.
Alan Ball famously had a battle with you, and then you were on the big match after that.
And Armstrong playing it straight to Clement there. Givens. Now Ball. And Ball and Bowles getting into each other again. And the referee going to have a word with the pair of them. And I think the referee is exactly right. They're taunting each other, and the referee absolutely right to say, I want no more of this. And it's going to be a drop ball.
There's a particular incident in the game where you thought at the time that he had deliberately gone to do you. What do you remember about that?
He did, yeah. Well, he was like a little Jack Russell, you know what I mean? Always snapping at your leg and all that. And I used to say, go away, just leave me alone, you midget.
And you went on the big match programme the following day alongside Alan Ball. Do you remember that?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was just said he has to do what he has to do. He was one of them, wasn't he? He was a World Cup winner.
Were you aware at the time when you went along to the studio to go on the big match that Alan Ball was going to be on the show? Can you remember?
No, I don't think it was. I don't think I did, no. It doesn't bother me anyway. Bring him on, don't matter.
Because looking at the footage, when you were sat alongside Alan Ball, it looked fairly evident that there was still a bit of animosity between the pair of you.
Yeah, because, just, God rest his soul now, but he was a bit aggravating, typical, exactly like a Jack Russell. Just keep running around. Petty things, you know what I mean? If you're going to kick me, kick me.
I think the first thing we must do, gentlemen, is to clear up an incident that all the fans have seen already, and the papers picked up again this morning, pictorially. This one here, right early in the game. Alan, what was all this about now? Eddie Kelly injured there, but here's the incident we're talking about. There.
Alan? Yeah, he's got the wand out again, the left foot. I went to pick him up there and he was obviously upset with me for tackling him like that.
Why was that, Stan?
Well, it was early in the game and I've got a bad left ankle and Alan caught me right at the bottom of my left ankle and I was a bit annoyed at the time, you know.
Is there any sort of lasting animosity between you? I mean, you seem fairly relaxed and friendly in the studio today, but I mean, is this something that's been going on?
Not whatsoever. He's a good player. You've got to. There's ways and means of getting at players. You know, you've got to try and upset them a little bit. You know, and you've got to try to do things to them. People do it to me. It's all part of the game. You know, and you've got to give them a whack now and again. And
is that what you were doing yesterday? You were trying to unsettle?
Well, talk to people. Yeah, you do things like they call it professionalism, whatever. Things go on the pitch that people don't know about, and you set your stall out to sort of upset people. People upset me, and you sort of talk to them and get onto them and try to put them off the game. You know.
Did it upset you yesterday?
Well, it did really, because Frank McClintock did say after the game, actually, he said, you know, Alan didn't mean, you know, what he was saying to you. He said he was just trying to get you at it. Because I class myself as a good friend of Alan's. We go out and have a drink together. And I must admit, I was a little bit upset. I thought he meant it at the time.
Didn't stop him turning it on, man, did it?
What did Gordon Hill, the referee, say about it all? I mean, he was having a really sharp word with the pair of you, wasn't he?
He just said a million things and nothing really about what it was about. He was great. I think he's a good referee, and he was sort of saying it's a nice day, it's terrific, and this and that, and get on with your game, the pair of you, you know.
Lovely.
I think he wanted to calm everything down, and he did the right thing at the right time.
One of the newspapers today, I think it's the Sunday Mirror, said Stan the Magic Man, and a lot of your play in the second half particularly was magical. Was that as good as you've played all season?
Yes, that's the best I've played this season. I've not been playing too well. I played quite well in midweek in the 4-0 defeat behind Newcastle, but that's my best game by far.
Is that you're getting on top of the problems you've had, or what?
Yeah, for the first time in my life, probably the end of last year and the beginning of this year, I was letting outside problems affect my game probably, but now I'm getting rid of those problems and just getting down to playing football.
You see, I'm sure the Rangers fans there yesterday and neutrals everywhere were really delighted with the way you played. I know Les Cocker, Don Revie's right-hand man, was there as well. And yet they are mystified as to how it is that you have these little things in your career where, you know, you don't turn up or you miss training or whatever. Can you explain that?
No, I can't really. At the time, I think whatever I do is right and I just do it.
And yet it upsets people who want to support you. They want to say Stan Bowles is great and he's good for England, and yet they're worried about, you know, your behaviour in these sort of matters. Are you putting this behind you now?
Well, I think so, yeah. Only time will tell, obviously, but I think so.
On that programme, Brian Moore was asking you about how your football was going, and then he seemed to ask you quite in depth about what was happening off the field.
Everybody wanted to know about my private business, you know. Even the papers, the Sun. News of the World, sorry. And they was following me round because I said to them one day at the White City, I said, listen, you follow me anywhere I go, clubs, anything. Within 2 months, they left me alone. Never heard again.
That wouldn't have put you off in modern day, because footballers now are celebrities and they are followed everywhere.
Yeah, they are, yeah.
You give the papers plenty
I was followed all the time, but I don't care. Once the game's over, I can do what I want. I told Dave Sexton that. So I used to go in the Springbok next door, and you were supposed to be 2 miles away. I said, listen, Dave, after the game, I said, I could do what I like. He said, oh, I can't talk to you, and that was the end of it. And I still go in there now.
Was that the arrangement at the time? After a match, you had to get
2
miles away
from the ground. Yeah. You had a little book. I dropped mine down the grid.
The Springbok's about 20 yards away, I think.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy that side mixing with the supporters?
Yeah, of course I did. Yeah. I used to get slagged on away games, obviously, because I was a bit leery. I don't worry about the crowd. Join in with them.
Did you enjoy that, mixing up with the supporters?
Yeah. Yeah, they used to sing Where's Your Wife when I got divorced, and I held the chorus. Carry on, boys.
Did that bring the best out of you when you got the banter going with the opposing supporters?
Yeah. It's all right. They still remember me. How many players are you going to see out of that Premiership will be remembered 30 odd years later? Not many.
Does that mean a lot to you, being remembered?
Yeah, of course it does.
And Bowles onside. Siddle's come roaring out of his goal. Now what will Bowles do? Onto the left foot he'll hope. No, onto the right foot. That's there. That's two. And that's Bowles. That's got every man off his seat as the ball flashed from one end to the other when Sunderland lost possession. When Sunderland lost possession, it found its way to Thomas. He played it sensibly the first time. Bowles was on it like a flash, turned them one way, turned them the other, and found the shot that made it 2-0.
Stan, footballers today, they turn up an hour and a half before kick-off. That wasn't your pre-match routine, was it?
No, my routine was to arrive at the ground about 1 o'clock, just show my face, and then I'd be in the betting shop till about 2:45. You won't get away with it nowadays, but that's what I used to do.
We're stood here at the loft end. The betting shop is about 100 yards in that direction.
No,
was it a case of sneaking out?
It's 35 yards.
You know how many steps?
Yeah.
Was it a case of sneaking out?
No, not really. I was already out then. Once I've showed my face, 1 o'clock, then I would disappear. And Don Shanks used to say, oh, he's here somewhere. He must have popped out with some tickets or something like that. Yeah, right.
So you'd have some teammates covering for you when they went looking for you?
Yeah.
So,
just him, Don Shanks.
So your teammates would be out on the pitch doing their warm-up and you'd be round the corner?
Yeah.
I'm guessing all the fans were in the betting shop as well, because it's just round the corner. So
Oh yeah, they got used to it, yeah. Didn't take any notice. As long as you have a good game.
A brilliant attacking game in the second half by Queen's Park Rangers. But what is more important for them, two really precious points as they strive once again for that Football League Championship. The season gets closer and Rangers stay at the top.
that season where QPR so nearly did it and won the first division, First Division, was that your favourite season at QPR?
Yeah, probably, but then you've got to remember, we went into Europe and played very well after that. Where David Webb and Frank McClintock was getting on a bit, you know what I mean? It was fantastic. But yeah, it was a bit of a downer when we lost the league. We was definitely the best side in the league. Everybody said we was the most entertaining side. There was no doubt about that. When we played night games, there was there'd be 25 managers up there just to watch us.
When it came down to the end of that season, 75-6 season, and Liverpool played a week later that final game, which is crazy.
They did. Yeah, because they was in Europe or something. Yeah, but we couldn't do nothing about that. I watched that at the BBC with Jerry Francis. I left when it was 1-1. And it was only, I'll tell you, it was 12 minutes. They was losing 1-0. 12 minutes to go. It was 12 minutes short.
And turning now to Europe, you scored 11 goals in getting. You personally scored 11 goals in getting to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I did. I beat Jimmy Greaves and was joint with Dennis Law, and I broke it here against Cologne. Never forget that because Dennis Law was my favourite player, apart from George Best.
So was your style better suited to European football?
Every game's a different game, you know. When I was at Brian Clough, he played me on the left wing to give the ball to John Robinson. I said, I want someone to give me the ball, not him.
Did you ever consider going abroad?
I could have gone to Hamburg before Kevin Keegan, but Jim Gregory gave me a few grand and said, I don't like the Germans, come round for dinner, I'll give you a few grand. So that was the end of that one. That's true. White's Hotel it was, a meeting. I was there, but Jim wasn't there. He said, don't worry about them. Come over there, son. I'll give you a few grand.
And one of the biggest matches of that European campaign was against AEK Athens out in Greece.
Yeah.
Where the game unfortunately turned against QPR. What do you remember about that match? Because the atmosphere was something else.
Yeah, it was, but I mean, we beat them 3-0 here, and then they beat us 3-0 over there. But some of the players, who'll be nameless for the time being, they didn't want to take penalties. You know, poor old David Webb, he's about 16 stone, he could hardly run up to kick the ball. And he missed the vital one. And that was it. Nobody blamed anybody, that was it.
And before it got to penalties, the fans were throwing things at you, weren't they?
Yeah, all big lumps of fruit, whatever it was, I don't know. I'd never seen things like that, about that big. They must have just made them for that game.
Was that the most intimidating atmosphere you've played in?
It may have been for the other players, not for me. Again, what can the crowd do? Nothing.
And of course it went down to penalties.
Yeah.
And I suppose at that point the manager comes on and is looking for his 5 to take.
Yeah.
And it
was the 5 obvious ones, but at least 2 of them dropped out. I won't mention her name. Don Givens was one.
And did they openly say, I can't handle this? Was it?
He took his boots off. So he ain't got to take a penalty with his socks on, eh?
And you went up, took the first one and scored it. No nerves?
No. That's the way it went.
It seems you struggle to understand the even idea of being nervous on a football pitch.
Yeah. No. It was better for me being out there instead of all these gangsters looking for their money. Bookmakers.
Did you feel safe on the pitch?
Yeah. 90 minutes relief.
They couldn't do anything to you in front of 25,000.
No.
Well, Stan, you only made 5 appearances for England, which is probably one of the great footballing tragedies. But I understand there was a boot deal to be made, and rather than make 1 boot deal, you made 2.
Yeah, well, I was roomed up with Mick Shannon, who was contracted to Adidas, and I was contracted to Gola. So they came round in the morning. I took 200 quid off them, and I took 350 off the Adidas man. So what I'd done in the game, I think it was Holland, I painted the logo out on the Gola one. But it started raining and then it washed away, so they spotted it on, obviously the match was televised, you know. And needless to say, I don't work for any of them now. Well, I didn't work for anybody from that day.
Where were you when you were painting your boot?
In the room.
Sat in the hotel room
Mick.
painting your
Yeah,
boot?
Mick was laughing his head off, Mick Shannon, yeah. But he wouldn't have done the same thing, yeah.
Let's have a look now at some of the best work of Stan Bowles for Queen's Park Rangers against Coventry yesterday.
Here's Givens playing the ball into Stan. Stan controls it and turns, and you watch him take it directly at the defender and go by on the right-hand side. Here's Stan, and he gets close in and gets his shot in on his right foot, and Glazer makes a very good save at the near post. Here's Thomas here. Thomas chips the ball up to him, and you watch Stan come off, and he controls it neatly on his chest, takes the ball away from the defenders, takes it towards the touchline, shields the ball, and just lays a nice little neat ball back to Dave Thomas.
He's a beautiful passer of the ball when he's got a bit of time on his hands, isn't he?
Yeah, this is an excellent thing about him. Here's another situation. This is Terry Venables, just knocks a little ball into him. You watch Stan here now play it on his left foot. Looks up and plays it with the outside of his left foot. Any other player would have played that with their right foot, but not Stan. He loves his old left foot, and he knocks a good ball out to Clements there. This is a goal. This is from the corner. You watch Mickey Leach make a run to the near post. He leaves the ball for Givens. Givens tries to play it. It goes past the Coventry defender, and there's Stan on his old near post, on the far post here, and just whacks it in with his right foot. That's a good thing about Stan. It doesn't matter which foot he comes to, he'll whack him. But he loves his left foot. He's really got a great left foot.
Must be so frustrating for you, seeing all those skills now.
Well, I've always known that he could play, and when Ian McFarlane rang me and asked me about him when he was at Carlisle, I told him to go and buy him. And Ian was a very good friend of mine. I wouldn't have told him to go and buy him if he couldn't play.
No. Have you seen much of Stan since those bust-up days at Main Road?
Actually, I only saw him when we came down to play at Queen's Park Rangers. I only saw him for a few minutes. He came in the dressing room when we played in the testimonial match. But I've never really had time to speak to him.
I'd hoped he might give you a bottle of champagne. He was threatening to do that, wasn't he?
Yes, he said he'd give me a bottle of champagne, and I was hoping he was going to come in today, but I don't think he likes the television much.
No, this is true. He had the bottle of champagne with him, but after the game yesterday, he was a bit nervous about coming here and appearing in front of the cameras, and I think that's why he's not with us this morning, Mark.
I tell you, he's not nervous at First Division football, which I suppose is the main thing,
That's
Gordon.
it.
When I was on my game, I was arrogant, you know. Take the mickey, you know. That's why I didn't get on with England. Because, you know, when I was playing people like Liverpool and all that, I was taking the out of them. And they didn't like it, so they didn't really speak to me when I was on the England squads.
The likes of Emlyn Hughes, Phil Thompson were
Yeah,
in and
all
around
that
England
mob,
at
yeah.
the time.
Yeah,
Didn't
yeah.
do you any favours.
No.
Does that affect you now, looking back? You only won 5 caps.
No, not really. Basically, well, I walked out on England when Joe Mercer was the manager. It was with Malcolm Allison. And I walked out on him because he took me off at half time. I can't remember it again. I think it was Holland. I think. Yeah.
What was the reason he gave you for taking you off so early?
Well, I heard him telling the Leeds coach, I can't remember his name now, he died. And I heard him take him off in 5 minutes, and that was it. So, effectively, I was barred for 4 years. They don't actually bar you, the FA. They just don't allow you to pick you.
So did you go and confront Joe Mercer when you heard what he said?
Yeah.
What did you say to him?
Well, I was on 5 minutes and he pulled me off in the second half. Frank Worthington went on.
Did you stay in the stadium?
No.
If you could go back, you wouldn't change that?
No, I wouldn't, no. I walked out Notts Forest to do a European Cup final. Not a lot of people know that. You know, people think I only play for QPR, which is good. You know, lots of people don't think I've even played for other teams.
And do you feel that Joe Mercer's reasons behind taking you off, did that stem back to the early days at Manchester City?
Yeah. It was aggravating me all the time about going around with the Quality Street gang. That's what they were called. And that was it. I thought I was out of football, but you know, I had a lucky break. I wound up playing 17 years.
You've spoken about Stan Bowles, and it was a brilliant goal. Brian, you particularly enjoyed it.
Absolutely brilliant. It's a case of too many cooks spoiling the broth as far as Chelsea's concerned. Webb eventually pushes the ball out, and Stan Bowles, with this beautiful action of his, you can see his arm, you can see the follow through and the left foot, and he literally rifles it into the back of the net.
Such a tiny gap as well.
Oh, beautiful goal. Absolutely beautiful goal.
Brian Clough, obviously, as a manager you went on to play for and eventually fall out with.
Yeah.
And you walked out just before the European Cup final.
Yeah.
What caused that walkout?
Well, because he left me out of the team. John Robertson was my best mate there. And he knew very well that I wanted to play in his testimonial, and he left me out. So I went over to the pub and then rang somebody up from London and I said, come on, I'm going. He said, you can't do that. I said, well, that's it, I'm going. Finished. And I didn't, he never spoke to me ever again after that. I had to train with the kids. I said, okay, I was getting a good wage there, you know what I mean?
Brian Clough was often on the big match. Did your paths ever cross in the studio? Did you ever meet?
No. He would, I went to the PFA, it was a few years ago now, to the dinner. and all the photographers wanted to take the pictures of me and him. He had a stick then, felt like kicking it off him. And I got offered a few quid for the picture, and he wouldn't have it. He wouldn't do it. I said, "Oh, God, of course, yeah." He wouldn't have it. He wouldn't have it done. Never spoke to me ever again.
Stan Bowles, interesting character, and a man that was apparently unmanageable at Main Road when you were at Manchester City, Malcolm.
Well, I think that he was in a bad environment in Manchester. He was always tremendous potential player, and you know, he was probably the best youth player we had at Manchester.
Was he a wild lad there?
Well, I think that Manchester was a town whereby he got mixed up with a few people that weren't good for him, and he didn't really work at his training. And I used to get terribly annoyed because I knew he had tremendous ability, and I hated to see him waste it.
So you're not surprised to see how well he's playing now?
No, I always knew he was a good player. I mean, in his first game, I think he came on as a substitute. He scored 2 goals in 45 minutes in the First Division.
Is he in any way unmanageable now, Gordon?
Not at all, not at all. I think that, as Malcolm said, that he was in the wrong environment in Manchester. And I think only Tag, the manager crew, one of the clubs that he moved on to, had a great influence upon him. I think he made him realise that he had to improve his ways. He's always had the ability, as Malcolm said. And no, he's tremendous for us, tremendous.
Were you difficult to manage?
Not really. I don't think so. But maybe in the younger days, Manchester City, yeah. I can see that now, because most of them are in prison now or dead. But no, I don't think it was that. I was easy going. A bit laid back, not too much, I suppose. That's probably what it was.
You worked under 6 managers at QPR, Gordon Jago, Dave Sexton, Frank Sibley, Alex Stock, Steve Burtonshaw and Tommy Docherty.
Yeah.
Who got the best out of you?
Probably Dave in the end. Dave Sexton. Tommy Docherty never taught me anything. I mean, I didn't get along with Dave Sexton's training when he first came. Like twice a week, we'd have no balls. So what's that all about? I'm not having this. Like shadow thing, you know? I said, no, I'm not into that. Call you when we get the balls out.
Looking back to that time, the 70s in particular, how different was it then compared with modern day football?
Well, it was as good. It's just a bit quicker now, the Premiership. You're not telling me that George Best couldn't play in the Premiership. You must be joking. Any of us could have, or any of the good players anyway. Charlie George, you know, people like that. Alan Hudson. There's some fantastic players there. Everybody had good players in their sides.
And you look at the state of the pitches and what you played compared with today. Do you think today would almost be better suited to Stan Bowles?
Well, of course it would, yeah. All you'd have to be is a bit fitter, that's all. I mean, there's some Premiership players now playing now wouldn't have got in our reserve side. And they get about 30 grand a week.
Do you have regrets about that you played obviously in a day where the money wasn't as substantial as it is today?
No, not really. It didn't bother me. You can't do nothing about your age, can you? When it's over, it's over. You know, poor old Dave Clement, he couldn't handle it. You know, when he committed suicide. Some people said it was because he was my roommate.
What was he like to room with?
Well, it was very strange when we went to Italy in the World Cup qualifier. And I heard this noise in the morning, about 6:30 in the morning. He was doing press-ups. The game was about 8 hours away. What's going on here? It was a bit like that, you know what I mean? And when you see the crowd, I mean, it was full up 3 hours before the game. I said, don't worry about the crowd, they can't do nothing. That's why I've never been nervous about anything like that.
And the team that the players you played alongside at QPR were some fantastic players.
Yeah, yeah.
Which ones stand out for you as being the great players?
Terry Venables was fantastic, but as I said to you, he was getting on a bit, sort of thing. He went. Jerry Francis, it was the best thing for me. I mean, I'd only been at QPR in 2 days, and I thought, he'll do for me. 1-2s and all that was brilliant. Dave Thomas, we had David Webb, Frank McClintock. They was all getting on, you know what I mean? I was a young man then, but it was fantastic. Dave Clement, even Ian Gillard, he was a big lad. Tony Curry, I would love to have played him a lot longer, but I didn't last long, you know what I mean? He was a fantastic player.
And just finally, looking back over your time at QPR, if you could go back now to a young Stan Bowles who turned up at Loftus Road,
Yeah.
what advice would you give him?
What would I give?
What advice would you give to yourself now if you could go back and advise yourself now with wisdom on your side?
Nothing really. I've done everything. Entertained the crowd, and the best thing of all time, for 7 years, I laughed every day. I don't laugh as much now, you know. I wasn't worried about retiring because I could always, you know, put my hand to another mob that I get with. And that was it. I had a fantastic time, especially at QPR, well, that goes without saying.